I'm Mary, and I'm 33 years old. For the last 11 years, I have been working on building my career as a manager at Preston and Associates, while my younger sisters, Patricia and Jennifer, were busy starting their families. I was working hard to move up in my job. I really like my job, but sometimes I think about whether I have missed something important. Just me in my corner office with a view of the city. No husband, no kids. It was a regular Friday morning when my phone rang. Patricia's name appeared on the screen. I replied while going through a stack of papers on my desk. "Hi, Mary," Patricia's happy voice came through the speaker. At 27, she has always been the cheerful one in the family. "Do you have a minute?" she asked. "Okay, what do you need?" I asked, moving some papers out of the way while only half paying attention and looking over the quarterly numbers. "You know Mom is going to be 63 in 3 months, right?" She stopped for a moment. "We are planning something nice, and we need everyone to help out." That got my notice. "All right, how much are we discussing?" When Patricia told me the amount, I almost spit out my coffee. It was more than what I spent on my last vacation 4 years ago, just so you know. "I understand it's a lot," Patricia said quickly, "but it's for Mom, you see." No, it's okay," I said, already opening my banking app. "I will send it now." "Awesome. Oh, and one more thing," Patricia said. "Take a week off for the celebration. Don't schedule anything else during that time, all right?" The next few weeks went by quickly with lots of meetings and deadlines. Sometimes I would think about what Patricia and Jennifer were doing with all that money, but when I asked, they just gave me unclear answers and moved on to something else. In the end, I got really busy with work and forgot about it completely. Next was the Wednesday dinner. We all came together at our parents' house. Mom, Dad, my sisters, and Elizabeth with her kids, plus my cousins, David and Laura. It was the usual family dinner chaos around us. Dad was telling his usual jokes. Mom was making sure everyone had enough food, and people were talking in the room. Everything felt known and cozy until Patricia dropped a big surprise. "So," Patricia said, moving peas on her plate, "we've made the plans for Mom's birthday. We are all going to stay at Mountain Pine Resort for a week." The table was full of excitement. Mom was smiling a lot. Dad began to talk about skiing, and my sisters were already deciding which ski trails they wanted to try. "Why didn't anyone tell me before?" I asked, feeling a little excluded. I don't have a ski suit, and now there's not much time to get one. The room became very quiet, too quiet. Mom cleared her throat, and I immediately felt uncomfortable. Her tone made it clear that what she was going to say wouldn't be good. "Well, sweetie," she started, using the tone she saved for asking things she knew I might not want to do but couldn't say no to. "We were hoping you could help us out a lot and take care of the kids while we're gone." I looked at everyone at the table, hoping someone would laugh or say it was just a joke, but nobody did. The quiet went on, only interrupted by the gentle sound of silverware hitting plates. "You want me to watch the kids?" I finally managed to say. "All 5 of them." My mind automatically started counting. Jennifer's toddler Richard, Patricia's baby girl Amy, David's twins Thomas and Anna, and Laura's son Ryan, 6 kids under the age of 8. "Well, you're so good with them," Mom said, as if that explained everything. "They love their Aunt Mary." I looked around the table again, hoping to see someone crack a smile or show any sign that this was some kind of joke. But all I saw were expectant faces, waiting for me to give my usual answer, yes. "That's not fair," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "I want to celebrate with everyone, too. It's Mom's birthday." I heard myself say, my voice sounding strange even to me. Jennifer, my 30-year-old sister, sighed and set down her fork. "Come on, Mary, you'll be bored there anyway. It's going to be noisy and crowded." Bored. I repeated, the words stinging. How would you know if I'd be bored? She glanced at Patricia and then continued, "You're great with the kids. They adore you. And let's face it, you don't exactly need a break from family life like the rest of us." My chest tightened. What's that supposed to mean? Patricia chimed in, her voice dripping with that condescending tone she had mastered. "She just means you don't have kids or a husband to get away from, like the rest of us. We really need this break. You understand, right?" The green beans on my plate blurred as I blinked back tears. I wasn't going to let them see me cry. Quietly, I pushed back my chair and stood. "Mary," Mom said, her voice soft with concern, but not enough to actually stop me. Without saying a word, I grabbed my purse from the counter and headed for the door. Nobody called after me. Nobody tried to stop me. The only thing I heard as I left was Mom's voice floating out of the dining room. "Don't worry, she'll be a little upset at first, but she'll come around. She always does." As I walked to my car, their voices faded, already moving on to talk about ski slopes and winter gear. The cool evening air hit my face, helping to clear my head. 11 years. 11 years of putting everyone else first, of being the responsible one, the dependable one. And this is what I got in return. It wasn't even the babysitting that hurt the most. It was the way they assumed I'd say yes without a second thought, the way they had planned everything without me, using my money, my time, my vacation days, without even asking, like I didn't matter at all. I felt like nothing more than a resource, someone they could use whenever they needed help. Not a true part of the family to include. Half the night, I paced around my apartment, replaying every family dinner, every holiday, every time I dropped everything to help them. The memories came rushing back, each one feeling heavier, darker after what had happened tonight. I saw myself at 17, making dinner while Mom helped Jennifer with her homework. At 19, saying no to a spring break trip with friends so I could watch Patricia while Mom and Dad went on a weekend getaway. At 22, working 2 jobs during college just so I could help pay for Jennifer's prom dress. The moments kept coming, one after another, year after year, sacrifice after sacrifice. "Mary, can you watch Richard for a few hours?" Jennifer's voice echoed in my mind. "I really need a break." "Mary, would you mind taking the twins for the weekend?" David's request played like a broken record. "Laura's overwhelmed with Ryan and you're so good with kids." I'd always said yes, always, even when I had an important meeting the next day. Even when I was completely drained from my own work week. I had taken pride in being the dependable one, the responsible sister, the perfect daughter. I sank onto my couch. The cool leather against my skin brought little comfort. My eyes landed on the photo albums on the coffee table. Family vacations. There I was, always the one behind the camera. Holiday gatherings. There I was, in the kitchen while everyone else laughed in the living room. When was the last time anyone had asked me what I wanted? What I wanted. The thought echoed in my mind. Patricia's words, "It's not like you need a break from family life," kept replaying over and over, as if my life, my career, my choices were somehow less important because I wasn't married or didn't have kids. It was like everything I'd done, every sacrifice I'd made didn't matter, because it didn't match their idea of what was meaningful. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay awake thinking about how hard I'd worked through college, determined not to burden Mom and Dad financially. I earned a scholarship and pushed myself, and as soon as I graduated, I started my career. I'd helped put both Patricia and Jennifer through school. I sent money home regularly to help with family expenses. I worked long hours, climbed the corporate ladder, and gave up so much for the family. Yet none of it seemed to count. By morning, I had made up my mind. I wasn't one for confrontation. Never had been. There had to be a peaceful way to handle this, to make them see my side without tearing the family apart. So I did what I always did when there was a problem. I tried to fix it. I waited until it was a reasonable hour on Thursday morning before picking up the phone. Mom answered on the third ring. "Hi, Mom," I said, keeping my voice calm and steady. "I've been thinking about the resort trip, and I have an idea. I'll pay for a professional babysitter to watch the kids. That way, everyone can enjoy the celebration together." There was silence on the other end of the line. A silence that stretched just a little too long. When Mom finally spoke, her voice was tight. "That won't work, Mary," she said. "We can't trust some stranger with the children. They're used to you." "I want to be part of the celebration, too," I tried to explain. "I want to be there for your birthday, Mom. I can find a really good babysitter, someone with great references." "You're not exactly a social butterfly," she interrupted sharply. "You'd probably feel out of place with all the noise and activity. And anyway, the kids will keep you busy, and you love spending time with them. It's perfect for everyone." Before I could respond, the call ended with a sharp click. I stared at the phone still pressed to my ear as her words sank in. She hadn't even said goodbye. I was still processing what had just happened when my phone buzzed again. Patricia's name lit up on the screen. I barely had time to answer before her angry voice hissed through the line. "How dare you?" she snapped. "Mom just told me about your little suggestion to hire a babysitter. Are you trying to ruin everything?" I sat up straighter, caught off guard by her hostility. "Ruin everything? I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone." "We already have a solution," Patricia shot back, her voice rising. "Everything's planned, Mary. Everything. And now you're being completely selfish, trying to change all our arrangements at the last minute." Her words hit me like a slap. "I'm being selfish?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yes, you are," she shouted. "We've been planning this for weeks. Everyone's excited. The resort is booked. The activities are scheduled. And now you want to mess it all up just because you can't do this one thing for the family." My hands started shaking. "One thing? Are you serious?" "You know what?" Patricia snapped. "If you ruin this trip for everyone, if you spoil Mom's birthday celebration, don't bother talking to me again." "I mean it, Mary." The line went dead. I sat there, stunned by my younger sister's threat. Moments later, my phone buzzed with incoming messages. This time it was from Jennifer. "Family needs to stick together," her first text read. "We all help each other out," followed the second. Then another. "Remember when I watered your flowers last year while you were at that conference?" And finally, "You're good with the kids. They love you. Why can't you just stop being resentful and think about what's best for the family?" My fingers flew across the keyboard as I typed my reply. "A real family doesn't take advantage of each other. A real family respects each other's wishes and includes everyone in their plans. A real family doesn't manipulate or guilt-trip one another." I watched the 4 dots appear, then disappear over and over. But no reply came. That's when it all clicked. The way they'd asked me for money without explaining what it was for. How they told me to take time off work without mentioning the resort. The casual way they announced their plans at dinner, like everything was already decided. They'd planned this from the start. While I was working late nights, babysitting their kids, and being the perfect daughter and sister, they were secretly arranging this trip. They used my money, decided my schedule, and planned to dump 6 kids on me without even asking. And now that I wasn't playing along with their plan, they were pulling out every trick they had. Guilt, threats, emotional blackmail. Anything to shove me back into the role they'd assigned me. But something strange happens when you finally see through the fog of manipulation. Suddenly, everything becomes clear. And as the guilt that had weighed me down for years lifted, it was replaced with something else entirely. Determination. I opened my laptop and started searching. Within an hour, I had booked a beachfront hotel in New York. It wasn't too fancy, but it had a balcony overlooking the ocean and was close to everything I might need. I even treated myself to a first-class plane ticket. After all, I wasn't spending money on skiing. The next few days at work were surprisingly calm. My family had stopped calling and texting, probably assuming I was busy at home preparing for a week of babysitting. Maybe they thought I was stocking up on snacks or planning activities for the kids. The thought made me smile as I packed my suitcase with beach clothes and a brand new swimsuit. Tropical vacation in the middle of winter. My coworker Samantha asked when she saw me checking the New York weather forecast. "Sometimes you need to do something unexpected," I replied, realizing how good it felt to say that out loud. On the morning of my flight, I took one last look around my apartment. Everything was spotless. The fridge was empty. The windows were locked. The place was perfectly in order. A force of habit, I guess. But this time, I wouldn't be here to answer any last-minute phone calls begging me to babysit. As the plane took off, I turned off my phone and tucked it into my bag. No social media. No emails. No family drama. Just me, the beach, and a whole week of freedom. The New York air felt like a warm hug when I stepped out of the airport. Palm trees swayed in the breeze, and even from there I could smell the salty ocean air. My hotel room turned out to be even better than the pictures. The balcony offered a stunning view of the endless blue horizon, and the sound of waves crashing on the shore was soothing. That afternoon I walked barefoot along the beach, feeling the warm sand between my toes. When was the last time I had done something like this? When was the last time I had done anything just for me? I spent my days swimming in the hotel pool, reading a book without interruptions, and enjoying quiet dinners at a beachside restaurant. No one needed me to cut their food or clean up spills. In the evenings, I watched the sunset from my balcony, sipping a glass of wine without a single thought about bedtime routines or morning schedules. On my last morning in New York, I soaked in the peacefulness, knowing I'd have to turn my phone back on eventually and face whatever chaos was waiting for me. But I wasn't prepared for what I found. The moment my phone powered up, it buzzed nonstop. Messages, voicemails, calls, hundreds of them. The timestamps showed they'd started exactly a week ago, early in the morning. My hands shook as I scrolled through the messages. The first ones were from Patricia. "Where are you? We're outside your house." Then Jennifer. "Mary, open the door. The kids are getting restless." David chimed in. "Hey, we brought Thomas and Anna like we planned. Are you home?" And Laura. "Mary, what's going on? Ryan's asking for you." I could picture it so clearly, my sisters and cousins standing outside my empty house, 6 confused kids in tow, suitcases packed for the resort, their carefully planned trip falling apart. The tone of the messages shifted quickly from confusion to panic. "Mary, this isn't funny. Where are you? Pick up your phone. What are we supposed to do with the kids? You can't just disappear like this." Then came the anger. Patricia's messages turned nasty. "You selfish witch. How could you do this to us?" Jennifer wasn't any kinder. "I can't believe how immature you're being. Mom's birthday is ruined because of you." Even Elizabeth, who was usually calm, sent a message that made me wince. "You ungrateful little. You've ruined everything." Mom's messages started later that day, and her words hit harder than I expected. "I'm so disappointed in you, Mary. I never thought you'd be the selfish one." That was Mom's text. Dad, who rarely texted at all, sent just one. "Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy with yourself." The voicemails were even worse. I could hear the anger, disappointment, and accusations in their voices. Then came messages from extended family members I hadn't spoken to in months, all chiming in to scold me. "You've always been so reliable. How could you do this to your own family?" Those poor children. You've ruined everything. I sat there in my quiet hotel room, reading message after message, learning exactly what my family thought of me when I stopped being their go-to solution. Their words, the names they called me, the way they questioned my character, it was like I was meeting a completely different side of them. A side that had been hiding behind fake smiles and casual requests for help. Without replying to any of them, I packed my bags and headed to the airport. It was time to go home. But I wasn't the same Mary who had left a week ago. The old Mary would have apologized, felt guilty, and tried to fix everything. But that Mary was gone. I had just finished unpacking my beach clothes when I heard loud, aggressive pounding on my front door. Before I could even get there, I heard a key turning in the lock, the emergency key I'd given my mom years ago, just in case. They stormed in like a hurricane, Mom leading the charge with Jennifer and Patricia right behind her, all of them red-faced and wild-eyed. The peaceful feeling I'd found in New York vanished instantly. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Patricia screamed, stepping forward. "You ruined everything, everything." I stood there, unmoving, as they let out their fury in my living room. The same living room where I'd babysat their kids countless times, where I'd canceled my own plans to help with their emergencies, where I'd always been the reliable one. Brandon and Eric refused to stay with the kids. Jennifer snapped, referring to their husbands. They both suddenly had important business to take care of, so Patricia had to stay home with all 6 kids while we went to the resort. She missed Mom's birthday because of you. The whole trip was ruined, Mom added, her voice rising. Nobody could enjoy themselves. All we did was talk about how you betrayed us, how you let everyone down. Your father couldn't even ski properly because he was so upset. They kept yelling, talking over each other, each one more dramatic than the last. Their words swirled around me louder and louder. But instead of feeling crushed, something inside me snapped, not in the way they expected. I started laughing. The sound of my laughter cut through their shouting like a knife. They froze mid-sentence, staring at me as if I'd lost my mind. "What's so funny?" Mom demanded, her face turning an even darker shade of red. What could possibly be funny about this situation? I wiped tears of laughter from my eyes, my voice steady now. "Don't you see how ridiculous this is? Do you really not understand how absurd you all sound right now?" "Absurd," Jennifer sputtered. "What's absurd about? You secretly planned this entire trip," I interrupted, my laughter fading. "You decided, without asking me, that I would watch your kids. You took my money, told me to take time off work, and assumed I'd fall in line with your plans. Now, when everything fell apart because of your assumptions, you're here blaming me like I'm the villain. But you've always helped before," Mom said, her voice, softer now, almost confused. "You've never said no." "And that's exactly the problem," I shot back. "Because I always helped, you started taking advantage of me. You stopped seeing me as a daughter or a sister. You started seeing me as free childcare. You stopped caring about my feelings, my plans, or my life." "That's not true," Patricia protested, but her voice was weak, lacking its usual force. "Really?" I raised an eyebrow. "Then why didn't you include me in the planning? Why didn't you ask if I even wanted to go to the resort? Why did you assume I'd be fine staying behind with 6 kids while everyone else celebrated? I scanned their faces, hoping to see some flicker of recognition, some hint that they understood what they'd done. But instead, their expressions hardened. "You're being selfish," Mom said, her voice icy. "You ruined my birthday, hurt your sisters, and disappointed the children. This isn't how I raised you." I felt the last thread of hope snap. "No, Mom. You're the ones being selfish. This whole situation is your fault, not mine." Mom drew herself up to her full height, her face like stone. "If that's how you feel, then maybe I don't have a daughter named Mary anymore." I met her gaze and said quietly, "If that's what you want, Mom, then so be it." It's been 5 weeks since that final confrontation in my living room. 5 weeks of silence, broken only by the occasional notification from my phone when one of my family members makes another indirect post on social media. I barely react anymore. Last week, Mom wrote, "Some people only think about themselves." Dozens of supportive comments followed from relatives and family friends who only know her side of the story. Patricia's post came next. "Family should always come first," with a picture of her daughter. She added, "So blessed to have people in my life who understand what that really means." Then there was Jennifer's post, a long paragraph about toxic people who destroy family bonds with their selfishness. She didn't tag me, of course, but everyone knew who she meant. A few months ago, these posts would have crushed me. I would have spent hours thinking up responses, losing sleep over their words, and wondering if they were right. But now I just scroll past. Sometimes I even smile at how predictable they've become. My life is different now. Instead of spending weekends on standby for last-minute babysitting calls, I've joined a local book club. At the first meeting, I sat in a cozy coffee shop on a Wednesday morning, feeling strange but free, knowing my phone wouldn't buzz with a desperate plea from one of my sisters. Last week, I booked another vacation, a trip to Europe in the spring. I didn't check anyone's schedule or worry about anyone else's needs. I saw a good deal and booked it. Sometimes, during quiet moments, I think about my nieces and nephews. I miss them, but not the way they were used against me. I hope that one day, when they're older, they'll understand. Maybe they'll recognize the same patterns in their lives and make different choices. I still have the emergency key Mom used that day. I keep thinking I should mail it back, but something stops me every time. Maybe it's a tiny hope that someday they'll understand, that they'll see how unfair their actions and expectations were, how they took advantage of my love for them, that they'll realize family shouldn't mean sacrificing yourself for everyone else. But I'm not waiting for that day anymore. I'm done putting my life on hold, hoping for their approval or understanding. For the first time, I'm putting myself first, and it feels right. Yesterday, I deleted the family group chat from my phone. I didn't make an announcement or try to explain. I just let it go. I simply removed myself, quietly and without fuss, from yet another obligation, another source of stress. Some might call that selfish. My family certainly does. But I've learned there's a big difference between being selfish and having self-respect. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away from people who only value you for what you can do for them.